Hey guys, it's Johnston, and I'm going to do a solo commentary for Destiny investors. So, I'm going to give you guys the Xbox 360 magazine's interview with Joseph Staten. And I'm going to give you guys a brief rundown of what's to come and a lot of stuff that we have uncovered on our previous videos. So, what I importantly want to add is that MailSack is not going to be our weekly thing, because once we did like mail sack, it's not very, I guess, intuitive, and it's not informative at all. Most of it's just random questions or random answers. So not many answers are going to be given until probably E3, which is coming soon at June. So I'm going to give you the highlights of the interview and what I thought was pretty interesting. So, one of the questions I found interesting was, how far along is development on Destiny? And one answer is, well, I'm playing it every day at my desk. We are deep into it, and the great thing about the game right now is that you only really learn how the game works when it's up on its feet and playable. And Destiny is pretty complicated. It's got an investment system and persistent characters, a big social shared world, so having it playable for real with all the systems running is a pretty big accomplishment, and we're learning a lot. This is exactly where you want to be as designers, playing it every day with our friends at our desk, seeing what's broken and fixing it. We're definitely there now, that's for sure. So, along the lines of development, they have been doing a lot of concept art, and seeing to that, they have been working on it since, that ODST Easter egg. So their project has been on for probably years, but they're actually giving this kind of pre-production look and how they're actually going to fine-tune it and script it in some way. And the next question I found pretty interesting was, it seems you've had trouble actually defining what Destiny is. So a lot of people actually confuse Destiny to being actually a shooter MMO type of game. Well, it's not really an MMO, or it's not really much of an MMO. It's more of a first-person action shooter with MMO, I guess, elements. So the answer they gave is, it's only been in the last 6 months that we've been able to play Destiny with everything running. For a while, we could play parts of the game. We could play the action shooter, the same old sandbox shooter that Bungie's made and loved, and does well. We've been able to play that for a while. We could play separate from that our investment systems in a mock way, where we could just play through it in Excel tables with drops and loot, and see how that part of the game played. But we hadn't smashed them together yet. We could play parts of our big open world broken up into sections that import into our engine, but as our engine became more robust, we could import large swathes of our world. It's been in the last 6 months that we've taken these things that have been up and running separately and got them all working in concert. During that time when Destiny was in bits and pieces, I think it was challenging for us to explain to Activision, even people on our team, what the game was going to be. We can talk about it, we can have you read words and walk it through, like animate storyboards and sequences, and say, this is what it's going to be, what's it going to feel like. But it was all a little bit on paper. It wasn't in your hands and playable. So it's a challenge to describe what exactly it is. The important thing to remember about Destiny is that, first and foremost, it's a Bungie game, and those are the games we make and love. You're in a big world that's populated by other players, a living world where things happen even if you're not there. It feels real, it's got time of day, big open environments, it has social places where you can gather, it's got persistent character, somewhat you grow over time. You're going to choose who you are in this world, and every decision you make influences how you look or how you fight. It definitely has properties of what you'd associate with MMOs, but it is, at its heart, an action game. A Bungie shooter, but it has these other great things added to it, which we really think makes it a revolutionary experience in the shooter space. So, much of the breakdown and much of the answers I found that they like replicating a lot of old sandbox shooters, and they're actually emulating this big open world like a lot of MMOs. So that those are the elements of MMOs. And since the 6 months have been taking in actual, I guess, gameplay, and they have been running it separately in groups, so I guess that takes a long time because there's a lot of verdict on what should be in the game and what should not be in the game. And a lot of the stuff that they say aren't going to be completely confirmed, but it is going to be actually in the game or going to be thrown out in the last minute. Who knows? So there's a lot of things like decisions that you have to make to the storyline and whatnot, but it's the properties that people think is an actual MMO game. But really, it's just an action game, just driven by, I guess, decision making. So another question was, is it true that players will get their hands on spaceships? Will there be space combat? One of the interesting answers was, well, the only thing we're sure of right now is that the spaceship is a thing that's going to take you from place to place. Like other things that belong to you, you're going to be able to personalize it. You'll certainly have some choice over which ship you have. It's another thing like your weapons or your armor that makes you in the world of Destiny. So, a lot of things Bungie made, like Long Night of Solace in Halo Reach, there is space combat in Long Night of Solace. You cannot deny it. But if aliens could invade Earth with like means of transport, I guess they need a flying ship or some kind of drop pod. So technically, they do have space flight. So there might be space combat in this game. Actually, let me scratch that. Space combat. Actually, space combat would be in the game. Would. And here's another thing that I want to address. So, one thing I really like to address is our last video, right? We were talking about, you know, third person and first person views and toggling and stuff. So, I kind of thought that maybe it would be a cool thing, but here's a question I found pretty interesting about it. Will you also present the social action in a third-person style instead of first-person? The stuff we've shown in the city, there has been a third-person camera, so I guess toggling might be in there. I think it's safe to assume once you're in the social space combat, it's less important, so it might make sense to break out to a camera that's a little bit more social. So, the camera stuff, that means that there's point of views, meaning that you can actually toggle. So, that's my assumption, my speculation. I'm gonna give you the link right here, down in the description below. But that's pretty fucking interesting. I really like this. And a lot of the stuff in this interview has been talked about in the GDC presentation, and a lot of interviews to come, and also a lot of things that were in the video documentaries that they released. So this is a very interesting video. I know I'm not very interesting to actually listen to, but it's a very good piece of information that I pretty much looked at. And MailSack, I will continually look at it every week to see if they actually released a little bit of information that might be useful. And we'll be tuning in to E3 pretty soon. So guys, thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Please subscribe, please comment, please leave a like. Thank you.